Yeah, go ahead.
All set.
How movement influences learning, how it leads to learning, that kind of thing, or what is your...
I guess the question my other members will be asking is, do you believe physical activity / fitness has an effect on children's success in the classroom? And then if you do believe that, could you provide any examples?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So, absolutely. I mean, if you look at even how we look at children developmentally, and all of this work in our kindergartens is on building their physical body. So, and so by the time they get to like right now, right now, those rising first graders, those are going to go into first grade next year. I've just finished doing a screener on all of them, and I could give you a little information on it too. But the things that we look at are how are they in their body, and we could tell that by moving. And occupational therapists, and other developmental educational people, other people would take kind of the same thing. Neurologists, neuroscience is telling us this too, that it's important that you develop balance, you develop an ability to cross midlines so that your neural pathways are really built up, so that you can, you have this strong corpus callosum where, the messages from the left and the right brain can properly communicate. And so we look at, balance, we look at crossing, left, right, above and below, back and forth, all these planes of the body. We look at, these, what are they called? Infant reflexes, so which are so important that should be kind of resolved by the time they're 1 to about 3.
Okay.
A lot of kids are still retaining some of those reflexes, so they're not able to isolate movement. They might still, oh, there's Tim. Okay. Tim, are you on your way? Okay, good. I'll see you shortly. Okay, all right, good. Bye, thank you. Okay. So they can't differentiate movement. So because when you're a baby, if someone calls your attention, you can't do that. The classic one is when you're driving. They go off. But kids, if they don't have their reflexes, and if they have this maybe back extension not working, then they're slouching, they can't write, their attention is fidgety. So there's a whole bunch of reflexes that you look at. So being in your body and physical movement is huge.
That is so good for my presentation. And I don't want to keep you, but if you want to keep going.
There's so many resources too that legitimize it. Like I did my master's in special ed, and my master's thesis, my project was research on a series of movement exercises based on brain gym things that were crossing and centering kind of activities. And I did some exercises with these students every day or however it was, and then did the reading pre and post test. And I did a lot of research on it, and most of the research was in the PHYED, the physical education journals. And they are all saying you need more movement. And even there's what is his name? I can't remember. Is it Art Ratey? Maybe John Ratey, Ratey. He talks about the importance of getting your heart rate up. There's some schools that have found improvements in academic success because these kids are on a treadmill first thing in the morning. They get the blood flowing, they get the heart rate up, and then they're ready for the day. So lots of different schools of thought, different ways of looking at movement is important. And we see kids are on screens, their eyes are not tracking, and they don't get the depth perception, and they're also not tracking in many number of ways, and they're just not moving. They're really sedentary. So, I mean, it's neighborhoods that they're not playing in, and they're not going outside, but it's also screens. So I could just go on and on, but that's in a nutshell, it's critical. And they're cutting gym classes, they're cutting recess, and they're adding more academic time, thinking, if we just did another reading class, but really what kids need to do is go out and play and then
Like a
they're
yin
much more
yin
ready.
yang thing, you know, you can't have one without the other.
Right, or you
Yeah.
really need, and we used to, for a couple of years there, we used to actually have everybody get out first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And in some of the middle school classes, they just took walks around the lagoon and they took a half an hour walk.
Yeah.
And the teachers, really noticed, just empirical evidence that
Yeah.
the kids were they could get much more done in a less amount of time. And then for
Mhm.
various reasons, parents maybe thought, oh, well, they're not going to be back from their walk till 8:30, so I won't bring them till 8:30. I mean, so unfortunately, the parents were not quite, it's always a slippery slope. But,
Yeah.
but even just in our own setting,
Yeah.
we see that was so interesting for a couple of years. So, so it's, I even looked for some of my research on Michelle Obama's program,
Yeah.
this Get Fit or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And there are some programs of like walking to school and different things like that. There's some research, that she used and just there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
It's not so much in these educational journals who are more into testing, but
Right.
it's these physical education teachers who are like, they really need to know how to organize their bodies. There's this whole thing called, oh my gosh, what is it called? Praxis? Not the praxis you have to take, but it's this knowing, like motor planning. Like you have to be able
Yes.
to plan. So if I'm going to do this, you have to motor plan and also be able to build your, your frontal lobe and your executive functioning. It's all related.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it in a nutshell, but it's so important. And so I appreciate your asking the question.
I appreciate us